Hey fam, welcome to Driven Life TV. Welcome to another video. Thank you so much for tuning in. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Today we're going to be reacting to the most viral moment that Matt Walsh had. This was a debate with two transgender people. And so we want to look at the confusion that is literally attacking the West right now. That is at the center of the degradation that is happening in the US, America, and even some other European nations as well. So we're going to react to that, and then we're going to connect it to a very terrible breaking news in Malawi that has just happened yesterday. Okay, this is the dismissal of a headmaster at the most prestigious school in Malawi with a big reputation. So let's do that right now. First of all, Matt Walsh's debate.
That.
For transgender people, we are assigned a sex at birth. And when we grow up, when there's a mismatch of how we view ourselves and how society views us, then we can choose to, either medically transition or just socially transition or both. Not every transgender person chooses to medically transition. For me, I chose to medically transition to feel comfortable in my own skin.
Mm-hmm. And this is different from, being non-binary and stuff too, because for many non-binary people, they might identify as trans because they don't identify with that gender assigned at birth. Right. But for a lot of non-binary people, it means that you just don't exclusively identify as a man or woman. And under that, there's a whole umbrella of gender identities where people might have pronouns that change day to day. There might be people who have one set of pronouns for the rest of their life. You might have non-binary people too who are fluid with their gender identities in itself. It's very confusing, very nuanced, but I think that what you were talking about earlier with it being that maybe traditionally, for centuries, people have identified with maybe the gender that they were assigned at birth. When we look at history and we look at cultures too around the world, we see that third, fourth, fifth genders have always been around. And then in different cultures, the idea of what gender is or a relation to our bodies is completely different than maybe here in the United States.
I have a gender pronoun chart that I got really confused about, and I'm just admitting straight up, this chart, I didn't know how to use the chart, and we don't need to go through the whole thing, but there were...
So for those who may be wondering, what they're talking about is the possibility of someone actually who is female becoming a man and a man becoming a woman. So these are people who actually begin to feel like they're in the wrong body. If you know what I'm talking about. They feel like I am in the wrong body. I feel like I was born a female, but I have a man's body and all those things. I know in Christian circles we see that and we know what it is. It's actually spiritual more than it is just carnal, okay? So we see that and we know exactly what is going on. We just need to take this person in the back of the church room and begin to do what is needful to help them out. You understand what I'm talking about? But these are the things that are actually happening in America. They are pushing these ideas on minors. They're pushing these ideas on children who have not really had a very concrete conception on reality yet. And so when they're doing this, it becomes very dangerous now. They want everybody to accept this nonsense. Okay, because to be honest, this is just crazy. But they want to preach this, to push it down people's throats, and even the governments and law enforcements are behind them. Big corporations are behind them. And so because of that, you find that these people are gaining traction. They have gained traction. And some of these things are even being forced on South Africa. We actually saw it recently where they're forcing South Africans to begin to teach these things to children in primary schools and secondary schools. And some crazy people in South Africa actually accepting it. I mean, what is happening to us, man? We're losing grip on reality. But so these people talk about it with Dr. Phil for some time, and then there's an introduction of Matt Walsh. And then he comes and just obliterates everything. So let us look at that part right now, the segment where Matt Walsh comes in. It was incredible, okay?
My name is Matt Walsh, and I've written a book called Johnny the Walrus. This book is about identity and imagination. He identifies as a walrus, and his mom's a little silly. She takes it seriously and thinks he really is a walrus. So she went on her phone, and there are people telling her that this isn't pretend, he's really a walrus. And his mother takes him to the doctor to have him surgically transitioned and gets him walrus hormone pills, and then eventually tries to drop him off at a zoo to live with other walruses. Not only topping the Amazon charts, my book has taken the world by storm.
Well, you just saw my next guest, author and conservative host of Daily Wire's The Matt Walsh Show, talking about his recently published children's book that has
Look
since
at him.
been removed online by a popular large retail chain. Now, Matt says gender is not a social construct, but rooted firmly in biology. True?
True, absolutely. Well, actually, just to clarify, and with all due respect, but most of
So, what I'm about to say is someone actually just talking about common sense. But in the time where we are in right now, the West is so confused that even common sense sounds profound. And even worse, some people actually are resisting common sense. Ah, my goodness. Let's listen to it.
what we just heard in the previous segment was total nonsense, which is why when you were pushing for definitions and that sort of thing, they were not able to provide it.
Look
because
at them
it's just
holding
nonsensical.
hands.
Sex, well, as human beings, we have a sex,
This is
male or female.
weird.
That is a biological scientific fact. Now, gender is a linguistic term. Words have gender, people don't.
You're saying that there should be no construct of gender, just sex. You're either male or female.
Right.
And someone feeling in a mental, emotional way that they don't identify with the sex that they have been biologically created as and assigned at birth based on their genitalia. If they don't feel that way, that there's no construct that describes that, experiences that.
Well, that's got nothing to do with the reality. So you can feel however you want. I mean, I could sit here and say that I feel like a tomato plant, but that doesn't mean that I'm actually in those things. So your self-perception, you can have whatever self-perception you want, but you can't expect me to take part in that self-perception or to take part in this kind of charade, this theatrical production. You don't get your own pronouns, just like you don't get your own prepositions or your own adjectives. You know, it's like if I were to tell you, my adjectives are handsome and brilliant, and whenever you're talking about me, you have to describe me as handsome and brilliant because that's how I identify. It makes no sense. You don't get your own pronouns. That's grammar. That's language.
So you think it's a delusion? Someone is self-delusional.
Yeah, I think it's delusion.
Yes,
it
it
could be
is.
mental illness. It could be it's a lot of different things.
Crazy.
With children, you know, there's also just a basic confusion that all kids have. Like that's why when you hear when you hear a parent say, "Oh, my 4-year-old son came to me and said that I'm a girl now, and so that's what I'm gonna raise him as a girl." No, you're a 4-year-old. I have 4 kids. When a 4-year-old boy comes to you and says, "Oh, I'm a girl," here's a good follow-up question. What is a girl? Ask him what he means by that. What do you mean by girl? And when you ask him that, here's what he'll tell you. He will tell you what he really means is that he wants to do some of the things that girls do, like play with the dollhouse.
It's
or,
simple.
or, you know, he likes the color pink. That's fine, play with the dollhouse. But you're still a boy. And that's a question I would like to throw out to other members of the panel, actually, because just like the 4-year-old can't answer what is a girl, well, this is one of the problems with this left-wing gender ideology is that no one who espouses it can even tell you what these words mean. Like, what is a woman?
Well,
can you tell me what a woman is?
No, I can't. Because it's not for me to say. Womanhood looks different for everybody.
What do you define
Look
a
at
woman
that.
as?
An adult human female.
And what does a female mean?
Well,
how
that's
do you define a female?
someone with female reproductive organs.
Okay.
Someone who's, here's the thing, when you're female, it goes right down to your bones, your DNA. So that's why if someone dies, we could dig up their bones 100 years from now. We have no
And we
idea
can
what
tell
they
what
believed in
sex
their
they
head,
were.
but we can tell what sex they were because
Exactly.
it's ingrained in every fiber of their being.
Interesting. So I'm trying to understand. Your definition is that a woman is someone who is female, you said, right?
Correct.
Gotcha.
Is a biological female.
So what happens with
Now, with this type of questioning, you actually begin to expect that maybe she's going to say something wise. But man, it's like everything just falls off. Let's just listen to it right now.
have maybe someone who is female, identifies as a woman, right? You know, cisgender woman, right? As you just explained, maybe doesn't have the ability to reproduce. Maybe doesn't have those organs that you're talking about that are reproductive organs.
I have answered the question. You stood up here and said trans women are women.
Yes.
Tell me what you mean. What is a woman?
Womanhood is something that, just as Ethan explained, I cannot define. Here's the thing. So I do not define what a woman is because I do not identify as a woman. Womanhood is something that is an umbrella term It includes people
That
who
describes what?
people who identify as a woman.
Identify as what?
As a woman.
What is
What
that?
is that?
Was to each their own. Each woman, each man, each person is going to have a different relation with their own gender identity and define it differently.
that doesn't-
And so
I'm not
trans
asking for
women are women too.
Can you see that the audience is actually clapping to this? This is just foolishness. But they're clapping to it. Just how you know, that's how warped people are in their minds in the West.
You want to hold on.
Again, trans
You
women
want
are
to
women.
reduce.
What, you
listen,
won't
listen.
even tell me
You
what
want
the
to
word
reduce.
means, though. So
you
that's
want to
the
reduce
problem.
women. You want to reduce men down to maybe just their genetics, our genitals, our chromosomes, right? That's what you're
What
saying.
you want to
that
do is
that's what we
what
are
you
at the end of
what
the
you
day.
want to do is appropriate women. You want to appropriate womanhood
Okay.
and turn it into basically a costume that can be worn. We've got when we.
As a
Hey, it's real
man,
funny.
you're
It's real
literally
funny. It's
saying
real funny
what a
when
woman
you're.
should look
Yeah,
like.
right.
As a man, you're literally saying this is what a woman is.
Yeah. Well,
Isn't that a little sexist?
Because I am willing to define it, but you won't.
Hang on. We've heard how Matt feels about pronouns, but my next guest says those who oppose them are asking the wrong questions. What does she say are the right ones? We'll add her to the conversation when we come
Let's
back.
listen to what she has to say.
Much and not avoid.
Let's
As-
listen to that right now.
Against people using what are called their own pronouns. But my next guest says the opposition is taking the wrong approach. Joining us on stage is Dr. Susie Denbo, Associate Professor at Kent State University with a PhD in communications and expertise in gender, sex, and feminism. Now, Kent State has been recognized among the nation's most LGBTQ plus friendly universities. Now,
Bad
Doctor,
sign.
thank you for being here.
Yeah, I'm glad to be here.
You've been listening to everything that we've been talking about. So, Dr. Denbo, how do you feel those who oppose using pronouns are taking the wrong approach in this conversation?
I think there's the extreme approach that you are admittedly taking, and then there's also just ordinary people that might not be comfortable with the language change. And it just is awkward. And so they're afraid of not being courteous or being accepting. So there's like these two.
When you see a professor and their tattoos, a female professor, tattoos on the neck, and you're seeing them talk about this, there's logic there.
Things. There's actually combating and not being, you don't like transgender, the idea of transgender. That's different than pronouns. But then just for most people, it's just feeling a little bit awkward and unsure and not wanting to hurt or offend somebody.
Well, why is it important for educators to teach about gender identity, gender presentation, and pronouns? Why do you think that's important?
Because there is a difference. There is biological sex, and a lot of times people are conflating sex and gender. So there's biological sex, and then there's gender, and that's a social construct in the sense that just because you're born biologically a female doesn't mean you automatically want to vacuum, for instance, which is usually a feminine activity or
You can
conflated
see
that
they're
way.
actually agreeing with each
and
other.
So this idea of giving children in age-appropriate ways an understanding that that these things aren't set in stone. Gender identity is not tied to biology.
You say that gender.
That is a big problem right there. One thing you don't want is to raise a kid without giving them things that are absolutes, things that are set in stone, to say this is something that cannot be changed about you. And then they should grow holding on and anchoring to that. Like, for instance, imagine raising a young boy or young girl, and then you're telling them that you can be whatever you want. You're not really a boy. You may be a female, so whatever you feel comfortable with when you grow up, be that. No, that's a reality that we have to make sure they're anchored in. There's some things that are set in stone about human beings and mankind. Okay? A boy is a boy. A girl is a girl. And those things cannot be confused. This is crazy, I'm telling you. Yeah.
It's not set in stone.
It's not.
What do you mean?
I mean that's just factually incorrect saying that. So you have biology is the chromosomal makeup and reproductive organs and all of that. And so that would be sort of the nature side of things. But the nurture side of things is where we see more of gender identities.
She began by saying that my view is extreme. Okay, so the view that every single person on Earth has held up until 15 seconds ago is extreme, and the view that almost everyone does right now still hold is extreme, apparently, according to her. But
That doesn't make
There
any
is this
sense.
they are conflating
Yes, it
gender and
does.
sex, because on one hand they say, well, you got your biological sex, but then your gender is whatever social construct. But then they turn around and say that trans women are women. So a man who identifies with the gender, the social construct of womanhood, actually is a woman. So if you can laugh all you want, but this is a logical problem. You are conflating sex and gender just by saying that. So that's the problem.
There's biological sex, and then there is gender identity. Part of me wants to ask why you care so much, because it's really not that big of a deal.
Oh, yeah. Can I answer that? I'd love to answer that question. I care about the truth. So basic truth matters. I want to live in a society where people care about the truth and we're grounded in truth. I care about children, and these insane ideas about gender are being foisted on kids, and that bothers me quite a bit. I care about the women who are having their opportunities stolen from them. I care quite a bit. Yeah.
You are a champion for women. I'm more interested in creating a productive space where we can try to build some kind of an acceptance around other people, and exposing children to different ideas around gender identity, I don't think is a problematic thing with parents being involved.
My next guests are parents who say, no way should children learn about gender pronouns at an early age.
No. Okay. So I think we've had enough of that. But yeah, so Matt Walsh did a very good job of pushing back against these insane ideas. And you saw that he was literally very blunt, because these people are so forceful with their ideas. They want you to accept them no matter what. They want you to join them in their own confusion. But that's not what we need to do for society to get better. From a Christian perspective, we know this is a very evil time. We know that there's so much perversion. Actually, let me read for you what Romans 1 has to say about this time. It says, "For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men who suppress the truth in unrighteousness, because what may be known of God is manifest in them, for God has shown it to them. For since the creation of the world, his invisible attributes are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse, because although they knew God, they did not glorify him as God, nor were thankful, but became futile in their thoughts, and their foolish hearts were darkened. Professing to be wise, they became fools, and changed the glory of the incorruptible God into an image made by a corruptible man, and birds and four-footed animals or creeping things." Now, 24 says, "Therefore God also gave them up to uncleanness in the lusts of their hearts, to dishonor their bodies amongst themselves, who exchanged the truth of God for the lie, and worshipped and served the creature rather than the Creator, who is blessed forever. Amen." 26 says, "For this reason God gave them up to vile passions, evil passions. For even their women exchanged the natural use for what is against nature. Likewise also the men, leaving the natural use of the woman, burnt in their lust for one another, men with men, committing what is shameful, and receiving in themselves the penalty of their error, which was due." So you see that God actually gave these people up to their vile passions. They're saying that I have a desire. I desire people of the same sex, and so I'll continue to live my life like that. So God says, go ahead. And the next thing you know is that these people are losing themselves. They are losing themselves. Okay, that's the perversion in our time right now. I believe that Romans 1 is actually a prophetic word for this time. There's a judgment that is coming on our time. Soon enough, I'm telling you. This confusion is taking place right before our eyes. And sometimes you see believers are avoiding to talk about it. They don't want to even have a conversation around it. And sometimes in Africa, we feel like it's far away. I told you at the beginning of the video that it's in South Africa, it's in Nigeria, it's coming. It's coming. Even in our curriculum in the colleges in Malawi, and even in our curriculum in secondary schools, they've already started teaching some of these ideas. Okay. They're part of the curriculum, and now they're going to do a curriculum review. I'm actually almost certain that these things may end up being a part of it. What I'm telling you is that we're in a time where evil is being celebrated, where people think being evil and accepting ideas that are perverted is actually being a person who is more nuanced. You're a person who is wozindigila, you understand? And sometimes when we become like the West, as Malawians, sometimes we feel like maybe we're becoming more modern, and then it's so fancy, it's fashionable, but we are losing ourselves in the process. Romans 1 has prophesied there's a judgment coming on this. I'm telling you. And I pray that my country does not become a part of this. But I know it's already in, because this is what happened at Kamuzu Academy recently. Let me read the report for you. It says that Kamuzu Academy in Turmoil, okay, this is an investigative platform, Malawi. It says that Kamuzu Academy, renowned as Africans Eton in the bush, is in the throes of a scandal that threatens to unravel its prestigious reputation. The esteemed institution, known for its rigorous academic standards and cultivated image, now faces a crisis as its deputy headmaster, Andrew Hubbard, has gone into hiding following severe allegations. It says claims from 5 individuals, including 3 minors, accuse Hubbard of enticing them into homosexual acts, okay, casting a dark shadow over the highly priced Kankasungu institution. At the heart of this storm lies Hubbard's alleged inappropriate involvement with junior staff members and minors within the Kamuzu Academy community. The specifics of these allegations are both shocking and deeply troubling. Although no evidence directly links him to KA students, the possibility remains a subject of speculation and concern. Okay? That we don't know yet, but cannot rule it out. Okay, an anonymous source at KA confided to the platform for investigative journalism. But it says that the accusations are grave. Hubbard, who has been on the run since a hearing conducted 2 weeks ago, is alleged to have engaged in homosexual activities with 3 boys from Tuntama Primary School, which neighbors the academy. Additionally, 2 KA support staff members have come forward claiming they were coerced into sexual acts under the promise of employment and promotions. Another source who is close to the investigations confirmed the issue to PIJ. Okay, it is true that Hubbard, has been dismissed on charges of coaxing 2 boys into homosexual relationships. One boy he employed as a special needs teacher and another as a cook at the school cafeteria. To both, he taught them to have homosexual relationship as a way of showing their gratitude to him. The guardians of these 2 boys are teachers at the academy, and they are the ones who reported him after the awards complained to them. The minors are under the age of 18, alleged they were given money in exchange for sexual favors. These revelations have sent shockwaves to the institution and the wider community. He is currently on the run as law enforcement agents are looking for him to answer allegations of homosexuality with children, said the source. This is happening. And I'm even hoping that this person is caught, because this is shocking stuff that you're saying here. So it won't be long before this transgender stuff also come to this place. We're living in an age where there's so much corruption around. You go on social media, you see corruption everywhere. You see young girls dancing, twerking naked on social media every time. And you wonder, what is happening? What is going on in our time? We need to send prayers up, man. We need to send prayers up. So anyway, that's the state of the nation. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. Until next time, have a good one.